Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me again for this episode of Budding for the Truth. Thank God for giving me this privilege to do what I'm doing. Like I said earlier on, I'm not doing this because I want to. I'm doing it because it's a burden. And if you check the time that I do this actually after midnight. So please bear with me until this burden is over. Like I also told you the last time that I'll be putting on one shirt, I can only be changing my ties if necessary. But otherwise, because of the burden upon me, this is the agreement I've made or a vow I made with the Lord. So thank you for joining. Now I've been talking about using the picture of things that happened in the old to understand the current status of the church. And some may be wondering, why are you only talking about the old? Where has such a thing happened in the new? I decided, okay, let us go through the new as well. And there we read Second Corinthians. Many of you have an idea of this particular scripture, but the topic, this is part 8 of Burden for the Truth, and the topic for today is another Jesus, another Spirit, another Gospel. I repeat, the topic for part 8 is another Jesus, another Spirit, another Gospel. So we are taking it from 2 Corinthians chapter number 11. This is Amplified Version. Let us read. I wish you will bear with me while I indulge in a little foolishness. This was Paul writing to the church at Corinth. But indeed, you are bearing with me as you read this. I am jealous for you with a godly jealousy because I have promised you to one husband. Another version will say, betrothed you to one husband to present you as a pure virgin to Christ. So he was talking to the church that he has promised the Lord that he will present us as what? As pure virgin or just virgin to Christ. So, but I am afraid that even as the serpent beguiled Eve by his cunning, your minds may be corrupted and led away from the simplicity of your sincere and pure devotion to Christ. Verse 4. Now listen to this carefully, very important. For you seem willing to allow it. If one comes and preaches another Jesus, whom we have not preached, or if you receive a different spirit from the one you received, or a different gospel from the one you accepted. So Paul encountered similar thing that we read in the Old, and he began to caution them. He talked about a different gospel, because it's a different gospel with a different spirit that speaks of a different Jesus, but they use the same Bible. The same thing that happened in the Old. We saw what they were doing in the temple. They were calling upon the name of the Lord using the Torah. Torah means the law, to preach, to do things, the priest, the elders, and all that. But they were actually worshiping demons. The same thing, that was exactly what Paul was writing here. He said, a different gospel. The gospel is good news. It's a gospel that has been given to us to reach out to in the entire world. The gospel says go, but we have made it to become stay. Men of God has put men and women a sense of God into captivity in the church instead of allowing them to go. God spoke to Moses, said, go and tell Pharaoh to let my people go. Right now, I could be considered to be a little Moses. Moses was a guy who couldn't speak. If you read in Exodus chapter 4, verse 10, it says, God, you have spoken to me. I thought by now I should be able to speak fluently. I'm not eloquent yet. Right? Why not use someone else? I thought that by now I should be better, but nothing has happened. Why not use someone else? So it was a man who lacked confidence. It was a man who couldn't speak nicely like myself. You can also, we'll go down, we'll talk about Paul. Paul was not an orator. So it talks about different gospel that have been painted from white to gray. Now, they quote the best of the Bible. They are so eloquent. They know most of them are philosophers. Some of them did all the theology. They have it all. But this is, if you're not careful, it's very thin. The difference between the truth and lies is very thin. That's why I call it the great line. The great line. Black means, of course, lies, you can dictate it easily, but it's nowhere written in the Bible. Now, gray is something between the lie and the truth painted together, it becomes gray. So Paul was warning us here, said, be careful of those who come to preach to you a different gospel, having a different spirit. It is through a different spirit that they can preach a different gospel, a different Jesus. Not the same Jesus that will preach, the right Jesus, but a different Jesus. A different Jesus. The Jesus that is all about themselves, Jesus that is all about their pocket and their belly. So is it strange? It is not strange at all. So there's a different Jesus that people are preaching. There's a different gospel that people are preaching from a different spirit. And that's the essence of what I'm doing. So I just want to read it through. If I have the opportunity to break it down, I will. Verse number 5. It says, yet I consider myself in no way inferior. I began to speak to himself, or telling others that he considered himself to be no way inferior. I'm reading verse number 5. To the so-called super apostles. I may not be known. I don't even care. I'm not doing this, like I said, for publicity purposes. I'm doing it because it's a burden. So Paul was right in saying he may not be one of the super apostles. People can consider him to be inferior. But he said something. He said, verse number 6. Said, but even if I am unskilled in speaking, so he wasn't an orator like myself. Say, yet I am not untrained in knowledge. And by the grace of God, I am not untrained in knowledge. Said, I know what I am talking about. But we have made this evident to you in every way, in all things. Simply means you have seen it right from his lifestyle. You have seen it from his messages and all that. The Bible said, by their fruit you shall know them. So what Paul was writing here of a different Jesus from a different spirit through a different gospel, which people have been preaching. So we need to know this. So I'm going to end this video for now. Thanks for joining, and join back again. We'll continue from verse number 7. God bless you.